Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Emily. I'm a mom who loves home decor, thrifting, and a good DIY project. Today I'm coming at you with a macrame tutorial. It's been a while since I have done a macrame tutorial, but I'm expecting a baby girl and I wanted to make this beautiful sort of rusty pink macrame. I thought, like a fun decor piece for a nursery that I hope to have in the future. But that's a whole other story. This tutorial is going to be a long one, so I really don't want to waste a lot of time rambling. But before we jump into things, if you're not already, feel free to follow me on Instagram at EmilyFaith22. Okay, let's jump into things because I have a few things to say before the tutorial starts. The first thing I want to share with you guys is that once again, I'm really excited to let you know that I have an accompanying PDF that you can download from my website. I will put that link in the description box, but it's just emilyfaithblog.com, and then you can find the macrame guides from there. So it's basically an accompanying guide that will have all of the cord lengths, all of the cord numbers, and just like little details like that. It really goes along with this video. You of course can get the idea from this video if you don't want to head over to the website. I keep these guides really affordable for you because I know macrame cord costs money and supplies cost money and it's a lot of time, so I try to keep these really affordable for you, but making these accompanying guides really makes it possible for me to continue to make these tutorials for you. They help me and my family out, so if you guys want the accompanying guide with all of the details, I will have that linked down below for you. I also, in the description box, will have the exact macrame cord that I am using for this project. I did get it off of Amazon. It's 3mm cord. If you're interested in using exactly what I used, I will link it down in the description box. And the last thing I want to say is that if this is your first time making macrame, I do highly recommend pausing this video and going to watch my 3 basic macrame knot tutorial video. That's going to give you the basics. Then you can kind of get a grasp on some of the basic knots. And once you've learned those, it'll be easier to come back here and make this. This is an in-depth tutorial, so I actually do go over a lot of the knots. But if it's your first time making macrame, it's always helpful to go and watch the basic macrame knot tutorial video. So without further ado, let's jump into this tutorial. And again, don't forget all those details that you're probably going to be looking for will be in my PDF. For this first step, I am going to use my wooden dowel and my cords that I have already cut to size and attach them using the lark's head knot. You might notice that throughout this video, I tie my lark's head 2 different ways. There's really no wrong way. They accomplish the same thing, but when I tie them the way you just saw, I usually flip my wooden dowel over at the start so that the little knot part is at the front. Then I'm using my measuring tape and finding the center and putting them in the center in groups of 2. Now we're going to be tying our first knot, which is the square knot. You kind of make this 4 shape, loop your far cord underneath the middle 2 and through that loop and pull tight. We're going to be making a square knot on both the left and right side and the middle. Once you've tied your 3 square knots, you're going to start combining them. I went down about 1.5 inches and tied another square knot. Now we are going to combine the other 2 square knots, as you can see here. Very simple. Take 2 cords from the 1 square knot, 2 cords from the other, about 1.5 inches to 2 inches down, and tie a square knot. And to finish off this very first step of the design, you're going to attach the 2 middle cords with a square knot. Take this sort of hanging string between the square knots and we're going to start attaching cords that we've cut. Again, all these lengths and number of cords will be in the PDF. So use your lark's head knot. This time I tied it the way you should, as to not make it confusing for you guys. So use your lark's head knot and begin attaching all of your cords to those hanging cords between the square knots. All of your cords attached, you can see I've actually started this on the right side already. We are going to be doing the berry knot. The berry knot is basically 3 square knots on top of each other, and then there's one final step. But to start, you're going to leave a tiny little gap at the top there. You can see my finger kind of poked through, and we're gonna tie 3 square knots in a row. Once you have your 3 square knots tied, you're going to take your middle 2 cords and you're going to loop them through the little center gap between the far 2 cords. Pull it through and it'll kind of loop around into a little ball. Take the outside cords and finish them off with a square knot to secure it in place. So I can show you guys that one more time. I'm going to do 3 square knots on top of each other. Again, leave just that little bit of gap at the top when you tie these. You're going to take those 2 middle cords, loop them through, and pull until your square knots kind of loop into a ball. Use your far left and right cord and tie a square knot to secure it in place. You're going to continue tying this berry knot all the way around the design, working in groups of 4. Next, we are going to attach our next set of cords, and again, the lengths and numbers will be provided in the PDF. We are going to be using our double half hitch knot to create a zigzag pattern. You're going to take that far left cord and hold it kind of diagonally down and begin tying your double half hitch. Once you get to the end, you're still holding on to that same cord. You're going to work with this cord the whole time. It kind of stays in your hand, but now we're looping it in the opposite direction. And again, you work your way back, tying your double half hitch knot. So we're basically just repeating this pattern, tying the double half hitch, and you kind of guide the design by holding that cord at an angle. Obviously you could tie it straight across, but we are kind of working in this zigzag way with the double half hitch. See the completed zigzag. The goal is to have it meet with the other side just below those berry knots. So you guys actually, if you use different cord, you may end up with a different number of zigzags than me. Basically, you're just going to bring it down to right underneath those berry knots. What you're going to do is tie them together using that same double half hitch knot. It can be a little tricky to start because they're kind of wanting to pull away from you, but hold them tight, tie the double half hitch. It really doesn't matter which direction you chose to go, as long as you connect them. Then what we're going to do is take those 2 middle cords. We're going to be creating kind of a diamond. So the first step is to take that middle cord, bring it down to the far right side, using that double half hitch. Now we're finding the other middle cord and bringing it down to the left side and doing the same thing with that row of double half hitch. Once you have the two sides done, we are going to tie a square knot in the center using those middle 4 cords. And to finish off this part of the design, we're bringing those outer cords back into the center using our double half hitch knot. It's always rewarding when you get to the end of a section and kind of finish off that design. Combine the two at the bottom with your double half hitch. Again, it really doesn't matter which side you choose to connect them, whether it's the left or the right, just tie them together, and that finishes off the second part of this design. Moving on, we are going to attach our next set of cords using our lark's head knot. And you guys can now see on the right side the design that we are going to be doing. You're going to start with your center cords, and we are going to be doing the double half hitch. It's very similar to what we were just doing, but instead of just zigzags, we're kind of doing that same diamond pattern we just did at the bottom. So make sure that you guys find your two center cords and connect them, and then move on to bring them to the either left or right side. If you forget to connect the two top cords with your double half hitch, then your diamond won't be closed at the top. It will be open. So then make sure you grab from that connected knot at the top, that cord, and bring it over to the other side. Take our middle 4 cords and tie a square knot. We're bringing our far left cord back into the center using our double half hitch. We're taking that far right cord, doing the same thing, bringing it into the center to create this diamond. Once you get to the bottom, you're going to connect them together, and then you actually just carry on with your double half hitch, keeping in that diagonal motion all the way down onto that left side. Then you're going to find that middle cord that would start with the other side and tie it down onto the right side. And pretty much from here, you guys have now seen the design. I wanted to make sure you guys saw how to connect these diamonds. So of course, after this, we're gonna do that center square knot, and then we just repeat this pattern until we get it to the desired length, which would be just under the step 2 design. So we are going to combine these, if that makes sense. So you'll have to create enough diamonds. I needed to make 6 diamonds on either side. And make sure you guys can see here, I left off that bottom section and didn't finish off those double half hitch rows because I wanted to be able to combine them, so you kind of have to start at the top. I combined them using the double half hitch, and now we can complete that final 6th diamond on either side. Again, just use your double half hitch to finish off that diamond. Find your center cord, now work to the other side. Going to find our middle 4 cords and tie a square knot. This time we're actually not just doing one square knot, we're going to do a little square knot design inside this diamond. So tie your first square knot. Make sure it's a little bit higher than halfway. Then you're going to combine the 2 cords from the square knot you just made and the 2 far left cords and tie another square knot. Now you're going to move over to the other side, again using the 2 other cords of your square knot and grabbing the next 2 on the right and tying a square knot. Then you're going to find the middle 4 cords again, just below those 2, and finish off this little square knot design with a square knot. Now you can complete this final diamond, grabbing that far left cord and bringing it to the center. Do the same thing on the right side, and that is how it will look in the end. Moving on to step 4 of this and our final design. Once you've attached your cords, you're going to find your middle 2 cords, and instead of doing your double half hitch in this diamond pattern, we're going to do a square knot pattern, very similar to the center of that square knot we just made. So start by tying a square knot with your middle 2 cords, and then we're always going to be grabbing the 2 from the square knot we just made and the 2 next to it, whether it's on the left or the right. And we are going to be working in this diamond pattern. Again, grab the 2 cords from the square knot you just made, and the next 2 to the left, and continue tying square knots down in this horizontal pattern. Now you're going to work to the right side, doing the same process. Now we're going to do something a tiny bit different. We're going to find our middle 4 cords, but instead of tying a square knot using these cords, we're going to use these as our center cords. So you're going to find the next cords. So we're actually using 6 cords, and we're tying our square knot around the 4 center cords. This just gives kind of, I don't know, it like gives the square knot like a heftier look. I really like how this looks, and just looks, I don't know, maybe a little bit more dramatic. Now we're going to be working our way back down. So you're going to leave out the far 2 left cords and grab the 2 from that square knot. And when I work back down, I like to work from left to right, going back and forth. I know when I work like from the top of the diamond, I do one side and then the other. But to not get confused when I come back down, I don't know why I do it this way, but I kind of go from one side to the other. And again, you're working in that same pattern. You're always grabbing 2 from the square knot you just created and the 2 cords next to it and tying a square knot to combine them. Now we're finding the center 4 cords again, and we're going about maybe a 1/2 inch to 1 inch down, and we're going to create the same pattern. But again, we're leaving that little gap to separate these diamonds. I found that by leaving the gap, it just really sets the diamond apart and you can really see that design clearly. I ended up making 5 diamonds on either side. And again, just like those top diamonds, even though it was the double half hitch, I still left out that bottom row, but I did realize I do need to finish off the last square knot to the end. At first I didn't. But yeah, you do need to finish off that last square knot, and then you can combine using a square knot this time. Now it's a little tricky because it's heavier. They want to pull away from you, but if it takes a couple of tries to get the square knots looking good, that's okay. But you're going to combine those cords with the square knot like you can see below. And now we're going to finish off the diamond pattern we were working on. Again, grab 2 of the cords from the one square knot and 2 of the cords to the left or the right of it, and work back in your horizontal pattern. My diamonds got a little bit wonky looking at the bottom. They were a little tricky when they're kind of at this angle, and this was not intended, but the design that I end up making right here definitely looks like a heart, which I think is kind of cool. So it's kind of was like a happy accident. You guys will see when it's all finished that it definitely kind of looks like a heart. Once you have those diamonds completed, which are connected, you're going to find those middle 4 cords. And again, we're doing like that extra big square knot that we've done this whole pattern. So grab the 2 on the left and right and tie them around the 4 center cords for a great big square knot. And now we can finish off kind of this larger center diamond that you can see here. Working down towards the center of that big square knot we just created. So again, I do like to work from left to right when I'm working downwards. I think it gets less confusing that way, and I won't end up like grabbing the wrong cords or something. So again, just keep working down, tying your square knots until you reach your center. You guys can see the heart is taking form. Now comes the part, I didn't film too much of this, but we're going to be adding a bunch of fringe to the project. I used 2 of the hanging cords between these diamond shapes to attach the lark's head knot and all the fringes, and I do have the exact length I used for the fringe in my PDF. One thing I wanted to do, which feels very extra, but I took that little center square knot and I looped a cord through it and tied the lark's head in between that little hole you guys can see. You definitely don't have to do this, but I find that it just fills this little gap that bugged me when I've made these type of projects before. So if you want to be extra like that, you can. Also, this is totally optional, but I also went and added some fringe to that other design at the back you guys can see. just to give it a little bit of fullness. I then went and roughly chopped off the fringe at the bottom because I used a lot of my excess cord as my fringe. And you guys can see here, I actually flipped over my macrame to attach most of the hanging fringe. It was way easier that way to work from behind. Here I wanted to show you guys the layers. So I trimmed up the bottom layer really nice. You can be as meticulous as you want, but the other layers don't really matter. I ended up chopping that back layer really short. I did this because I thought that the bottom center had just a lot of layers of fringe, and to me it didn't look even. So I decided to go ahead and just chop that nice and short. That is totally optional. You could leave the length and the fullness. So you are just gonna trim up everything really nice, and here is how it turned out. Happier with how this macrame came together. I love that I used this thinner cord for this project. I feel like it gave more intricate details. I don't know, like I just love how it looks. I love the length of it. I love the size of it. I feel like it's a statement without being like too huge. I don't know. I really like it. It came together better than I had hoped. And I hope that you guys are able to recreate this, use it in your homes or however you want. It was a joy to make it for this baby girl's room and a joy to make it for you guys and share the whole process. So if you liked today's video, don't forget you can head over to my website and get the accompanying PDF so that you can make this with all the details that you need nicely laid out for you. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. As always, you can subscribe for more of my everyday life. Follow me over on Instagram at EmilyFaith22. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.